Hi, Sunday night soul timers. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend, getting grounded and centered in for the week ahead. So tonight we're talking a really important topic. It came up in the community this week, and it's all about staying grounded and true to your center, especially when you're around difficult people or challenging people. It can be also around like just challenging circumstances. These continue to be interesting times. I have a feeling they'll continue to be interesting for the next month or so. And so you might find yourself experiencing people that are close to you having a challenging time, not behaving as their best self, or continue to deal with some of the turmoil happening across the planet right now. And so what I want to remind you of is that you always have a choice to stay connected to your core. You always have a choice to stay connected and grounded in your heart center, to stay in a place of peace, centeredness, and love. That is a choice that's always available to you, because at the core of having free will is your ability to choose your perception. Perception's always a choice. And so whatever you're choosing how to perceive something is ultimately connected to whether you are in fear, worry, and doubt, suffering, or if you are in a state of peace, joy, love. Okay. And then also in core to this is you always have a choice in your reactions. You cannot control other people's behaviors. You cannot control what they do, how they behave, how they hold their energy, but you do have control over yours. That is also always a choice. And so, look, we were talking in the community this week, like, God, what do you do when I'm doing all this work on myself and my family isn't, and the people I live with aren't, and, they're behaving like jerks. Like, what do I do? It's challenging. It's hard, and it can feel disheartening that, you're focused on growth or just being a good person. And you're constantly surrounded by people that aren't behaving their best or aren't focused on their own consciousness. It's challenging. It can be a bit of a test, right? And we all experience and we all go through that. And what I'll go back to and tell you, just remember your ability to feel peace, serenity, wholeness at the moment is a choice. And it's some of the hardest work to do. It's like in 12-step, we have a saying like, you think you're spiritual, go spend a week with your family, right? Because then the test is really like how you behave, like how you respond, how you react. Are you going to go down to their level? Are you going to go down into arguments, over things that aren't yours to control? Or are you going to take the higher road, the higher path? Are you going to be the one that stays grounded in peace, love, and awareness? You're not in peace, love, awareness if you're judging them, if you're trying to control them, if you are needing to be right, right? So just getting clear on what's theirs and what's yours, and owning what is yours, but not theirs. Okay. So look, I have 5 practices here for you, as I always do. I'd like to give you something tangible about how to really stay grounded and hold a sense of peace and groundedness amongst chaos, dysfunction that might be happening around you, whether it's from people or otherwise. Okay. And so the first is don't take things personally. When you are taking things personally, someone's bad behavior personally and making it about you, you're choosing to suffer. Let it just be about them, their own sickness, if you will, or their own bad behavior, their own choosing to have a bad day. When you make it personal and take it personally about you, you're causing yourself to suffer. And this a really great book on this is called The 4 Agreements, if you have not read it before. And it's one of the primary agreements. And they're all agreements in terms of you having peace and happiness in your life. And so not taking things personally is one of them. So someone having a bad day and being emotionally abusive, maybe. It might feel personal, but it's not about you. It's wholly about them. And so being able to have that type of awareness and not take it personal, seeing it for what it is, is one real way to stay grounded and true to your center. Another one is to really be clear from a boundary what's yours and what isn't. So if you're trying to make them be a way they're not, or obsessing on thoughts of like, why aren't they this? Why aren't they doing this? You're focusing on something you have no control over. The only thing you have control over is your behavior, your soul path, your soul journey. So if you're getting into overly focusing on what they should do, how they should treat you differently, no, the only thing you have control over is how you show up differently to them. How they what they do is their business. It's not yours. Now, that doesn't mean you don't communicate boundaries, that you have to like take a bunch of crap from people, right? So what yours is in that is to communicate boundaries. What they end up ultimately doing, whether they choose to honor your boundary, whether they choose to receive how much their behavior is hurting you and do something about that, that's still on them. You can't control that. So getting really clear on what's yours to own versus what's theirs, and having a healthy discernment around that is another way you stay true and connected to your core. Another thing is to always choose love as your response. Love is not accusing them of this, this, and this. Love is not attacking them. Love is not choosing to argue. Right? And I'm not saying like active love. I'm just saying choosing to respond in calm and peaceness. And peaceness, that's not even a word. Peace and serenity might be choosing to respond to love. Right? So you don't need to go down to their level because that is still a choice. You can choose to respond in love. I understand you're in pain right now. I can't talk to you why they're like this. So I'm going to walk away, but I'm not going to go down in the mud with you. And so two kind of components of this that I wrote is like, part of choosing to respond in love is also, I'll ask it this way. Are you willing to be wrong? Or are you too attached to having to be right? Attached to having to be right, you're probably not responding in love. Right? And another one within that is, are you willing to admit you don't know? If you're really connected and attached to that, you know best, you know what they should be doing. Your story, your expectation, trying to control something that's not yours to control. You're in attachment, you're not responding in love. So just ask yourself, if someone's coming at you or you're going to that, like, how can I respond in love? What would that look like? And you'll know, because you'll feel a sense of kind of peace and serenity in your heart in that response. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is, and I write this as like compassion for the sick. Again, we talk a lot about this in 12 step, like having compassion for the sick man. A lot of times that's someone that's in my 12 step world, that's someone that's still drinking and needs to be sober, or someone that's trying to get sober and their head's a mess, right? But like, maybe you're in a state of consciousness they're not. Maybe you're awake and they aren't. So if they're really in unconsciousness, so the way you could label that, or they're really aligned with ego, voice of fear that's acting as the voice of reason, you can kind of view them as like they're sick. You know what I mean? Like as an expression. And do we berate or go after people that have no capacity for the level of awareness that you have, that don't know how to respond healthy, that don't have the tools and behaviors or skill set to respond or behave in a place of love? They might not have that, but I'm going to get mad at them for it. So compassion for the sick. And then the 5th and final thing is to just trust the universe's will. Everyone is on a soul journey that they most need to have. Sometimes we have to spend time in unconsciousness, in the dark, to come to know the light. Trust that everyone, even those you love, even if they're in a lot of pain at the moment and they're not behaving in a way you like, or they're really combative with you, just trust that they're having the experience they most need to have for their own soul growth and soul journey. It might not look like it at the moment, but I believe the universe is in everything. Do you? And what might, and assuming that they're in alignment with their sacred path, even if it looks messy and ugly at the moment, how might that shift the way that you act, behave, respond, how you take it? You know, when in doubt, surrender it all, surrender and trust. So that's it. And I hope some of these practices, at least one or two of them, are helpful to you. And I invite you to work with at least one of them. Practice for the next week, not taking things personally, and see what that feels like, right? So every time something happens and you're getting upset, just ask yourself, am I taking this personally? Am I making this about me when it's totally not? It's about them, their sickness, their dysfunction. You know, why am I taking it on and making it about me, right? And so practice really disassociating from that and releasing the need to do that, and see how that goes. Anyway, if you need any help or support, I'm here. As I've said before, we're kicking off 1 or 2 new groups in the Women's Purpose community this summer. If you're a senior exec women and you would love to join a community of high-powered women that are really focused on their personal growth, their self-awareness, their own consciousness expansion, we'd love to have you. Just reach out to me and let's talk. Okay, have a beautiful week ahead. Bye for now.